Okay, everybody, let's take it from the top.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Hi ho everybody, welcome back to D Plus Us Weekly, the show where we talk about shows exclusive to Disney Plus. I'm one of your hosts, Griffin Tennell, Griffy D-Pad, and with me as always is the excellent, the amazing, the wonderful Mr. Mitch George, who currently took a bite out of something and I desperately need to know what it is. That's right, you're chewing and I'm going to make you talk. Yeah, come on, come on. You're almost there.
I'm so dumb.
Yeah, you really did that at the end of the intro and I was like, oh man, he's going for it.
Look, I grabbed a snack. I wanted to consume it before the show. You and I got to the implications of a female Silver Surfer in the upcoming Fantastic Four film, and then I looked down as
We
you
got
were doing
distracted
our countdown, I'm like,
fast.
oh, look, chocolate. So,
Fair enough. There's so many things around my desk that could distract me at any given moment. And there's so much I want to just talk about right now that isn't even related to what we're here to talk about today, which is, of course, X-Men 97, Episode 4, Motendo and Lifedeath Part 1, both parts of this episode. Nice to kind of go back to that every once in a while, see a two-parter. It is an episode. Of course, we're talking about X-Men 97, episode by episode, week by week, so go ahead and check out other previous episodes if you're curious before getting into this one. Definitely a continuation of one of the stories in one of the last episodes, or actually a couple of the last episodes.
Yeah, nice throwback to the original series and, a continuation of Storm's plot.
And more references to my favorite mutant. God, I hope we see her in actuality in this season. I will bring it up every time magic appears on this show.
I know.
Yeah, we're talking about X-Men 97. Housekeeping for you. We just put up an episode recently that is like almost immediately outdated itself, but I'm kind of proud of that fact.
It was still way too much fun to record, so it's fine.
Yeah, we put up an episode recently leading into the Disney Investor Call, a Jeopardy-style game, all about the activist investor trying to force his way into Disney. He did not do so, which we didn't know in recording the episode because we recorded our episodes early. But it's still a fun time. Go listen to that. Get some interesting information about all of it in a very fun, unique way that I wish I could say we produced, but we did not.
That was all TJ.
TJ did a great job, so you should really give TJ the credit for all of that. That out of the way, let's talk about X-Men 97. Mitch, I want to start this with telling you a story about a big regret that I have. Once upon a time, I had the opportunity to buy a arcade 1-up cabinet that had Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and X-Men Children of the Atom on it. And every day I regret that decision. I regret not buying that.
Have you seen the one that they did for X-Men 97?
I have, and I looked at it, and it's available for pre-order on Amazon, and I'm highly considering it if I didn't just spend a shit ton of money on my car.
I was going to say, I really want it, but also I have a bunch of stuff that I need to save up for this year. So no arcade machine for me, right, Carmen? Okay.
What's funny is we can't hear her, but I know what she said. I know she said no.
Yeah, well, she said sure.
So no.
No. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's so pretty.
Look,
though.
If I wasn't considering already buying the Lego what's the name of it's
Blackbird.
Blackbird. Thank you. For some reason, I want to say Blackjack, and I'm like, no, that's the Pegasus from Percy Jackson.
That's close enough.
I'm considering buying the Lego Blackbird, and I'm also going to be buying that Lego D&D set. So I'm like, okay, I'm already spending enough money coming up.
Yeah, that Lego D&D set is so nice, but also I can't. But then I look at this and it's like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel Superheroes
I'm not
versus
kidding,
Street Fighter,
Mitch.
X-Men versus Street
I
Fighter.
am selling unbuilt Lego sets to buy the D&D set.
What's funny is I opened Facebook today.
Did you see that I put stuff up?
Facebook feed is.
Do you see that?
On your fucking marketplace.
I put
post.
three
I'm not gonna
shit
buy them from
up.
goddamn Oregon.
Also, you're not going to buy it. I might just give them to you. But
no, I would give you money for them, but also I don't need any more Legos, right, Carmen?
I'm just going to start sending you Legos, and Carmen's just going to hate me.
Pretty much. You don't have our address yet, do you?
No. I was about to show you something I got from Disney today, but realized that I would absolutely dox myself, so I'm not going to do that.
No, let's not do that.
What I can show, I'm taking a Disney trip. Later, I can show this side. I'm taking a Disney trip this year. I'm excited. Anyways, X-Men. What do you think? We're 5 minutes into this
We're talking
episode.
about that.
We haven't talked once about the actual show. What do you think of this week's episode, Mitch?
It was a bit of a mixed bag for me, surprisingly enough. I kind of wish we'd gotten a full Mojo Dojo
Mojo
Sexy
Dojo
Ken
Casa
thing.
House.
That's the one. Yeah. I kind of wish we'd gotten full episodes on both of these things. I do think they're doing this weird thing with the Storm storyline where they're splitting it across multiple episodes, which I understand from a storytelling perspective. It's just it feels
it's a big enough
odd.
story to warrant that time, but it feels like it should have been a part 1, part 2, not a part 1 at the end of an episode, another episode, which admittedly we don't know what the pacing is going to be, another episode, and then part 2. It feels like it should have had its own 30-minute episode. I'm in total agreement there.
Well, because I think the part 2 is its own episode. So Lifedeath part 2 will be its own standalone episode.
Yeah, I'm saying
so
Lifedeath part 1 should have been its own 30-minute chunk.
I agree, and I do think there's enough in the Motendo section that they could have maybe not necessarily dropped more Easter eggs in, but dove more into the Roberto Jubilee story, because we kind of get this embrace at the end, which, although it's cute, it doesn't necessarily feel earned, and they could have done more to build those characters together, at least for me.
It makes sense to me in the way of like cartoon romances do, where I'm like, this wasn't going to be a thing for very long. At least I don't expect it to. But like, we got a whole subplot in the Motendo scene of Roberto coming to grips with using his powers. And that could have been so much more. We could have done so much more there. We could have done so much more with I'm going to butcher this name. Abskissa?
Jubilee variant.
Beta Jubilee.
Jubilee variant. Who, interestingly enough, is voiced by the original voice actor of Jubilee from the X-Men show, which I thought was a great nod to that character.
Yeah, great way to bring her back. Like, I really legitimately, like, all this said, I love everything we got. I thought everything we got this week was super awesome and, like, surprisingly emotional and having a lot of weight to it for a kind of celebration of Jubilee, a character who really wasn't used that much in the original series. And kind of a spoof on video games in gamer brain rot.
Yeah. I knew coming into this episode that I was going to love the video game motif, the video game nods. I was kind of off-put when it's like, oh, they're in this game and it should be 16-bit, and then they flash to the Mojo scenes and like they're showing it as a 16-bit game. That was a great nod back to the original X-Men arcade game.
It legit
and all
looks
that.
like the old arcade game.
But then we get that second scene when they're in the Days of Future Past bit, and everything around them is 16-bit, and they use the 16-bit theme from the arcade game. And
I wish they kept that.
I'm telling you, at 1 PM, I'm sitting there almost crying on my couch hearing this goddamn 16-bit.
So cool.
Oh,
so damn cool.
So good.
That is what I
so
want,
cool.
genuinely what I want out of like the future of like theme parks. And like, we're kind of getting there with some of like the VR arcades that they have. But like, I just genuinely like want to hang out in those spaces. Like, that'd be so cool. I loved it. Yeah, everything there was so cool. But yeah, I wish they had a little bit more time to set these things up. Obviously, they only have 10 episodes to work with, so they wanted to get all this
like
in
with
here.
with the life death story, I understand. Like, ending on that cliffhanger was interesting, but instead of all of these needing to be these 30-minute chunks, they could have very easily, added more to the Mojo episode, and then had all of Life Death be its own, 45-minute episode, 40-minute episode, instead of it being this 10 minutes at the end of this episode and a full 30-minute episode in a couple of weeks.
So I'm making my bet now. A season 2 is in production.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll play more with episode length time in that one. I think this season they really wanted to bring us back to that 30-minute, not even 30-minute, that 22
traditional Saturday morning cartoon
vibe. Yeah, and I think they're look at the marketing, look at the style of the show. They're really doubling down on that.
They're nailing it,
and they're doing a great job of it. and they've done a good job for the most part of mixing and matching that with much more modern storytelling techniques that make things a lot better. I think this is one of those, like, you don't have to stick to the time. You can go a little further if you want, and they are doing it bit by bit. I wish they would just blow the doors out and say, screw the time limit. We can do shorter episodes. We can do longer episodes. Whatever works for the story, we want to tell. That said, talking about things, let's talk about Jubilee being fucking badass in this episode.
Oh my god. I hope she learned a bit from Beta Jubilee, because like the whole roller skating on her
Fireworks,
whatever you want to call them, and oh my god, the freaking like saw blades, and they do a goddamn spirit bomb at Mojo. I'm just like, oh my god, so cool.
Dude, this was the most anime episode. There's even a reference to Sword Art Online in this episode, which I did not see coming. It genuinely had me dying when I was like, oh, we're really saying if you die in the game, you die in real life. We're really throwing that out here.
And then Extra Life just kind of pops up.
Sword Art Online.
Sword
Art Online, which you can now watch on Disney Plus thanks to Hulu. Don't watch it. Yeah, this was really fun. I loved the vibes of this. I like that this was how they were able to bring back that old Magneto, classic Magneto design, because like it's so good. It's one that I like almost kind of disappointed that they're not using. I like the I think it makes sense for where the character's at, but I love the old design. So bringing it back here I thought was really fun, and having him be a multi-stage boss fight.
Yeah, that was great. And Jubilee figuring out the boss fight, like, oh, we're in a video game, so dodge, wait, vulnerability, throw a fireball. Like, of course. That's just the way video games work. Yeah, and it was great.
It's great. Anytime Jubilee has a chance to shine, I'm always here for it. And I'm especially loving Jubilee and Roberto together. Roberto is a great addition to the show. This whole romance thing at the end definitely feels a little rushed. And like, I don't know about you, but that was not what I had been feeling at all in their relationship dynamic.
I'd gotten a sense of it, of just, teen romance is a thing. It just kind of happens out of nowhere, and that's fine by me. But the thing that I'm more concerned about, and I know we're going to get over this by the end of the show, we're seeing character progression with Roberto, but it's like, oh, he wasn't nervous about showing his powers in that one scene where it was just his arm, and it was also in this alternate universe video game alien planet thing that his parents were very unlikely to see. So, like, I still feel like they're going to, double back on that, be like, oh, we're back now, I gotta be weird about it and all of this, and eventually he'll come out of his shell and do the thing.
Yeah, I don't know what you know what some of the next episodes entail. I do not. I can see them going down titles. That. I mean, didn't you look at the synopses? I thought you looked at the synopses.
The titles and the synopses don't give much away, to be honest.
I could see them doing something like Bright Eyes. I don't know what that episode's going to be about, or something in Tolerance's extinction, like he's forced to use his powers and confront that.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking as we get into this multi-arc finale, and eventually, like, yeah, it's do or die. I'm going to do the thing.
Yeah, like, I do think we're going to have a resolution to that storyline in this season. But yeah, all in all, I thought the Motendo stuff was really fun. And honestly, this is just more proof to what we've been saying for the last couple episodes and our original series episode. They've really got to put Mojo in the MCU.
That, again, I know they're talking about Sinister as the first bad guy for the X-Men in the MCU, and I get that.
I don't think Mojo...
It's perfect. Like, we need it.
I don't think Mojo should be first. Mojo absolutely should not be the first villain you use. He should be the second villain you use, though.
I worry, though, if they go with Sinister, that we're going to get a similar storyline to what we got with Sinister in this show, of the whole, needing to splice together Jean Grey and Scott Summers to make super mega mutant power thing. And I don't necessarily need that.
See, there's a few lines you can go down with Sinister, and I think we can play more into frankly, the racism side of X-Men with that. You could bring in the Reavers, you could bring in the Nasty Boys again. I think there's ways you can play with it. But I got a feeling that first one will be a lot more about the team, the interpersonal relationships of the team. Because it kind of has to.
I feel like that's what we really need to do an episode on X-Men First Class, because I think like that movie handled the introduction of an X-Men team the best. Like, you have this villain, you have Sebastian Shaw, you have the Hellfire Club, but really that film focused on Xavier and Eric bringing together a team and how their ideologies differed by the end of it and all of this stuff. Like, I thought that was the best intro to mutants that we've seen thus far in live action.
I want to eventually make a full video about it, but like one of my biggest problem actually with the MCU is that everything is built around the Avengers. And as much as I love the Avengers, don't get me wrong, but they aren't the kind of team that the X-Men are. They aren't the same kind of team that the Fantastic Four are even. These teams are so much more than just a superhero team. They are family. Whether it's the Fantastic Four, which are family by blood, or it is the X-Men who are all kind of forced together under this.
It's an orphaned family. Yeah, it's an orphaned family brought together by the injustices of the world, bigotry, hatred, xenophobia, all of that.
Like,
I think those are going to be really interesting to touch on in, the late 2020s. And saying that makes me feel like I'm 70.
I think the MCU is very much defined by starting with Iron Man, and going with the Avengers, going down this very corporatized military aspect of the Marvel comic books that frankly is not necessarily a part of the X-Men and Fantastic Four. And I'm kind of getting on my soapbox a little bit here. Full video maybe someday when I have the time to sit down and write it. But I would love to see what that's like, and I feel like we're finally seeing what that's like in this show. So it could be interesting. I can't wait. Genuinely, the future of Marvel is super bright for me.
Yeah. And I really hope, and I've been saying this the entire time, with the build-up in the MCU towards Secret Wars being this culmination of the multiverse saga, I really need the next phase of the MCU to just be, hey, we're clean slate starting from scratch. We've got all these various teams, and we're just going to have event films where it's going to be like Marvel Galactus or Marvel X-Men versus Avengers or whatever it's going to be, and like focus on it being Marvel Presents or something to that extent.
I'm telling you, man, the minute they finally
do, universe than just Avengers, right?
The minute they finally do Marvel's Doom is the minute that everyone freaks the fuck out. Let's
call it Doom. Yeah,
that's all you need to do. Let's bring it back into the actual episode. We're getting off topic like we always do. Let's talk about Lifedeath a little bit more. I did kind of like the contrast of these, of the young romance side of Jubilee and Roberto, and the older romance side of Storm and Forge. All kind of culminating in Forge's need for redemption.
Asshole.
Like, Forge has always been kind of an asshole. Forge really in the cartoons didn't have that much of a character, other than just being kind of cool, and also kind of a government stooge. But yeah, I really liked this, like them working on his ranch, trying to restore her powers, everything with the horses, his backstory and the war. It was very toned down for what I would expect an X-Men episode to be. Like there wasn't a ton of like massive action or anything. It's a lot just of two people sitting at a table talking.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of perfect, to be honest, as a bit of a break from the absurdity that was the Motendo bit of this episode. And I do think just, having these two characters discuss how fucked up Forge's backstory really is, of the idea of this mutant being down on his luck after the war, and in order to rebuild himself, giving the U.S. government means to, disable mutant abilities. Like, that's pretty fucked up.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that diving into that and what that meant to Storm and the reason that he's trying to redeem what he's done in the past by fixing Storm is not something that she's going to easily forgive, because he's ultimately the root cause of all this pain and anguish she's been going through. So it's going to be interesting to see how we resolve this in a couple of weeks with the rest of the Life-Death story.
Especially with the adversary being a part of this. I think it's very, very interesting to use that character.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're going down that route. So for those that don't know, while Forge is a mutant, he's also, at times in the Marvel comics, had the opportunity to become like a shaman.
Mm-hmm.
And
also, for what it's worth, just
good.
In general, a character that was made after the show.
Yeah, there's that.
Or just before the show came out. This character was made in the 80s.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the whole idea of the adversary, and I wonder if they'll follow this in the show, is that the adversary was originally summoned by Forge during the war, or right before the war. I wonder if they're going to play with that more and like kind of really double down on Forge's need to redeem himself. Because I think that would be pretty cool.
I expect that to be the case. It makes sense to tie the adversary back to this backstory. And it also just feels like everything they've been doing thus far in the show has been very faithful to what was done in the comics. I mean, apart from the techno-organic virus being a sinister thing rather than an apocalypse thing, things have been pretty much beat for beat with what we've expected from comic stories in the past related to these characters. So I fully expect them to dive
bits and
deep.
pieces. I feel like that's 97's biggest strength. Is it's going to be as faithful as it can be, but like Kitty Pryde and Nightcrawler weren't a part of the Madeline Pryor storyline because they're not relevant right now. Kitty not in it. Kurt on the other side of the world, presumably. Like, it makes sense the way they're doing things, and that's the biggest kudos I can give to the show is like you're bringing in cool stuff and you're doing it in a way that makes sense. That's all you need to do.
You're doing the thing week after week. We're all tuning in to watch it because it's dope television.
Yeah, and it looks awesome.
Dude, oh my God. I'm so grateful to myself for making a very poor financial decision in buying a new TV this year because, oh my God, this show on an OLED is just out of this world.
I wish. I watched the first 2 episodes on a 4K OLED, and I'm like, I can't. I need to get one myself.
You just got to go back to your parents' house.
What I need to do is go over there, steal their TV.
You joke. Okay. Total non sequitur. We can either rap or I can tell the story here.
Yeah, tell the story online.
Okay. So when I bought that TV, the TV that was in our sitting room or our family room, I gave that to my parents to upgrade a TV that I bought for them last summer to replace a dying TV at our cottage, our seasonal home. So that TV came home from the cottage. They took my TV that was in the basement. The TV from the cottage is now in my bedroom. So I've got a 40-inch TV on the wall in my bedroom, which I very much don't need. And even though it's just this like really cheap TCL, like it's a 4K LCD screen. Like it's not bad. I don't need that in my bedroom, but it's better than the 720p Toshiba that was in there. So yeah.
See, I got one TV. It's in my living room.
I have like
it doubles as a fireplace,
and too many of them have TVs.
I was gonna say
we've got a TV in our spare bedroom.
House, apartment. That's kind of the big differentiation here. Also, age.
I'm not that old.
Yes, you are.
Shut up.
Yeah, you're a Rip Van Winkle. It's okay. That's a reference to our last episode. You should go watch. Yeah, I want to watch this on a nicer TV. Like, I really wouldn't go back and rewatch this episode, see all the little things I missed. The one thing we didn't even mention yet is I want to talk about the character select screen.
Yeah, that was great.
Pulling in some very specific cameos.
Yeah.
Like Havoc and Colossus and Magic. Like, they didn't just recreate the screen. They brought in a real random assortment of characters, but also a couple characters that made sense. Like,
I mean, we also get this shot of Forge's workstation where he's got a photo of his team from the original show, like the original X-Men show, which was X-Force, Havoc, Polaris, Strong Guy, Wolfsbane, and Multiple Man.
Mm-hmm. I always forget that Polaris was a part of that.
Yeah, which is weird because they also part of what, at least in the comics, has allowed Rogue to touch Magneto is that she's at times stolen Polaris's power. So, like, is that what happened here? Or is it something else they're trying to get to with that whole thing?
Are they going to bring up that Polaris is kind of Magneto's daughter as well as Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver?
Who may or may not be at different times in the Marvel canon. They like to flip-flop on that a bunch.
They like to change it whenever they can.
We didn't even mention that we got more of Magneto cucking Gambit in this episode with the coffee at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. I like that they're making.
That's just going to continue.
Yeah, I like that it's a running gag now. Like,
I don't. Like. I'd rather them just resolve this whole thing
well,
instead
I
of
feel
dragging
like
it on for another 4 or 5
see,
episodes.
I felt like they resolved a lot of it in Fire Made Flesh. Of him actually having to just straight fight him. And now it's kind of a bit.
He would die.
Yeah. But now it's the fake version of them. And now it's just kind of a bit at this point. We'll see if it goes any further. I don't know what the next few episodes entail. But I'm excited for all of them because the show rocks.
We're going to find out. Although I will say our next episode will be a little late. Just because of travel schedules and such. So apologies for that, but we'll get it to you as quickly as I can. Maybe I'll get bored on my trip and I'll sit in a hotel room and record it from my phone with Griffin, because that would sound great, right?
Yeah, it sounds perfect. You see what happens, folks, is when I get back from traveling, Mitch has to immediately travel afterwards. So we can never have a consistent schedule.
What's a schedule?
Who needs it? It's not like YouTube thrives on consistency.
I mean, it's not like YouTube thrives on our content anyway.
Oh, God, no. We're way too long for YouTube. Or way too short. It really depends on the day.
We're just wrong in so many ways.
Well, yeah.
But we appreciate you all hanging out on this journey with us.
Yeah. Go ahead and check out our other episodes while you're around. Thank you very much for listening. Mitch, if you want to keep up with us, where can people find us?
At D+us, anywhere you want to catch up with us. At GriffyDpad, GRIFFITPAD. At Mr. Mitch George. Everywhere you can find people on the internets.
Yeah, go check us out there. I'm going to especially shout out our TikTok. Disney Imagineering is going to be putting on a new YouTube series. I'm probably going to talk about it over there. Because it doesn't seem like something that we should talk about on the show, but something I still want to talk about regardless, because big old nerd right here. So go check that out. Go check out all of our other stuff. We will be around next week, but until then, have a magical day.
Excelsior.